internees. You know, people taken into concentration camps will be re-educated into appreciating U.S. policies. And on page 20 of the manual, it talks about using deadly force in confronting dissidents. And it said, warning shots will not be fired. This is your military. It's not your military. It's the military. The military's been taken over by the regime. How many American men really will shoot their uncles and brothers and cousins and nephews? There's going to be mass chaos when this happens. There'll be desertion. There'll be U.S. military units fighting against U.S. military units. What do you think's going on in Syria? Army units fighting army units. This is what Obama is bringing to the USA. The same tactic, the same policy of chaos. Because Marxist communists need chaos in order to rule. I want to tell you something, folks. A day is coming very quickly when I have to make some very, very important decisions for the viability of this ministry's future and for my safety. Please pray for me and do what God is telling you to do right now while you have the opportunity to use your material blessings for this ministry, because that day is coming very fast. I'll take a break. I'll be back in a minute with Dr. Miller. Well, welcome back to True News, your alternative source for world news and analysis. I'm Rick Wiles. 16 months after the triple catastrophe that struck Japan on March 11, 2011, the Japanese government continues to lie to its citizens, and the corporate-controlled news media in the USA, Canada, and Europe continues to black out the truth about what is happening right now in Fukushima. Badly damaged reactor number 4 has bulging walls, and the building is tilting. A powerful typhoon this summer or another earthquake could easily topple the weakened structure. Nobody really knows what is happening beneath the damaged reactors. We could have a China syndrome scenario underway, and nobody knows about it except the top elite. Highly radioactive water continues to pour into the Pacific Ocean. Radiation continues to drift into the atmosphere. A debris field the size of the state of California is drifting in the Pacific Ocean towards North America. Japanese debris has been found throughout the coastlines of Canada and the USA. Alaskan polar bears are dying of skin lesions. Sea lions, too. Large numbers of dead dolphins and pelicans have washed up on shore in Peru, and over 300 Alaska airline flight attendants have mysterious skin lesions and hair loss. Cesium has been discovered in bluefin tuna fish along the California coast and also in seaweed. Japanese children have cesium in their urine, and Japanese lakes and rivers are contaminated with cesium. But don't wait on the government or the news media to inform you. Whatever information we have is coming from alarmed and informed citizens who are researching the crisis and getting the information out to the public through alternative news outlets such as True News. One such man is on the telephone right now, Dr. Conrad Miller. He specializes in emergency medicine at Brookhaven Memorial Hospital Medical Center in Patchogue, New York, and he is closely following the situation at Fukushima, Japan. I have him on the phone right now. Dr. Miller, welcome to True News.
Well, thanks for having me on your show.
Yes, sir. Well, tell me, first of all, are you convinced that the Japanese government is lying to the public?
Well, they're not telling all the truth, and they're working on protecting TEPCO. And then there's the tight ties between the government and TEPCO. A lot of the government people who, when they go out of the government, they go and work for TEPCO. may become a vice president for TEPCO. So their interests aren't very good in terms of protecting the people right now, but that's not unusual for nuclear power all over the world.
So what they are telling the public, it's selective truth, because withholding information is to me the same as lying. When you know something that could harm somebody and you're not telling them, it's the same as lying. I mean, we just found out recently that the U.S. government was giving the Japanese government, in the days after the earthquake, we were providing them with satellite, information about where the radiation clouds were drifting, and the Japanese government did not tell their citizens, and they knew that the refugees were literally going into the most heavily radiated areas, and they would not tell them.
Well, the United States didn't do much better.
I agree.
We had all the those same pieces of information and
kept it quiet.
And then we had the units of in the units of, we can cut out some of this. I'm just trying to think of the word. The plumes, we had them tracked, and didn't really report them very much. And then the United States has decided not to monitor the fish. And then Hillary Clinton, I'm not sure exactly when she did this. I'm not sure if it was this month or last month or was it last year. She signed an agreement with the Japanese that we won't monitor any of the food imports coming to the United States for radiation.
That's right.
So that's another thing. And then another interesting thing in terms of the media, which seems to be where you're thinking a lot about this whole problem, which is a big problem, and the way we frame our debates, and that is, we had that report about the tuna, and you heard about that, right?
Yes.
Well, when did you hear about it?
I think it was a month or two ago.
Right. Do you know when they caught those fish?
No.
It was August 2011.
And they just released the information.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. So, and when you're talking about the fish and the contamination, the cesium that they mention is just one radionuclide. It's the easiest one to test for. But the reality is that that's not the only radionuclide that's in anything that gets contaminated with radiation. There's all the radionuclides that come out of a nuclear plant, from fissioning uranium to make heat, to produce steam, to turn a turbine. That's all these radionuclides come out, and we can't measure most of them. So the easiest one to measure, for some reason, is the cesium. And the cesium, it may not be very high now, but I'd like to see them catch some more tuna now and see what their levels are now. Because what's happening is the water's coming out every day in billions of becquerels of cesium from the rivers out of Fukushima, and those are accumulating in the mud, in the, like you said, in the kelp, in the seaweed, in the plankton, and then the fish are eating them, the smaller fish. The anchovies that they caught off of Japan are counting up about 60 becquerels per second, which means when you hear a tick on your Geiger counter, that's a becquerel per second. And then they're down the food chain. So other animals are eating the anchovies and other fish, and then the tuna fish are eating those fish, and then higher up the food chain, it all bioaccumulates. So as time goes along, actually, the levels in the tuna, I expect, are going to go up and up and up and up until they finally somehow stop the leaking of the radioactive water out of those buildings where they have thousands of gallons of radioactive water in each building. All the buildings are leaking, according to Arnie Gunderson, and that water gets into the groundwater, and then the groundwater seeps into the rivers. And now they're finding all these fish that are there in Fukushima that have crazy levels of cesium.
And we're talking about freshwater fish.
And freshwater fish. Freshwater fish,
yes.
Well, freshwater fish in Fukushima is what we're talking about right now.
Yes.
But also